boy, all the 3D it needed to go into this. I mean, like that. I mean, the space was 3D. The space is actually modeled in a computer by our color guys, but then it was put into 3D. All these ships and planets were 3D. All those scan lines on the screens behind these guys are 3D. They had inset all those screens with all the planets. There you go, Scooge. Chris Graham loved the Scooge character. He storyboarded this section. He really wanted to do Scooge because he liked Scooge. He was a more animation-y guy, Chris. He loved sort of rounder characters. But he loved Ted Raimi. He loved Sam Raimi's films. Poor Scooge always became the sort of brunt of abuse. He was going to show up more and more into the second season. He was going to become a recurring character, basically, who would, since he was done his mission with Operating Impending Doom, he'd come back down to Earth to hang out with his old buddy Zim, loosely defined buddy. Zim would also abuse him constantly, and you start to see into their past story, and it was always the same relationship. Scooge always did the right thing, just did not look good, just didn't have the appearance, was always abused by everybody, but pretty much the perfect soldier, the perfect citizen of Urk. This very violent sequence I had to board and put in to sort of explain what happens to the inhabitants of a planet when the tallest get there, when the Urkin invasion takes place. They basically destroy everything. They eliminate all life on the planet, and we weren't showing anybody dying from it originally, and then I decided, yeah, you know what, I'll throw in some storyboards showing these rat people blowing up and getting shot. I'm surprised we didn't hear anything about it. It's so violent and gratuitous. I love it, but, you know, I'm just surprised that nobody made any fuss about it. Just proves what you can get away with. This new design of the tallest was actually done as an afterthought by Jonan in Korea. When we first went to Korea, Jonan, Roman, and I went to Korea around just before Halloween of 2002 to see how the Koreans were doing with the animation. And while there, Jonan drew a new tallest design. That's how comes you see the tallest's bodies change from the first episode then to the further episodes. But here you really get a good look at them because they're all over the place in the episode. The tallest originally were just that rather tube-like design. Jonan, while there, just was doodling around on an art table and drew what you basically see in this episode, a more insect-like body. And the head animator, again, Chow Lee Han, of that episode. And I believe Chow Lee might have worked on one part of this episode, too. I think it was that part, Chow Lee Han did. Chow Lee just loved it so much. He was wandering around looking at what we were doing, and he saw Jonan's drawings. And the next morning he comes in and says, "Hey, I love your drawing, Jonan, and I think that should be the tallest design." So we changed it there on the spot. Leave some space for to edit that. So this area, this NASA place, we had to name it NASA Place. We couldn't name it NASA for some reason. I don't know why. NASA, I believe, is public domain name. We couldn't use it, so we had to change it to NASA Place, which is just ridiculous. Always sounds like Sesame Place to me, you know, the Sesame Street theme park. This character with his drinking is just a great touch. I think Jonan asked for that to be put in. Something gets a little bit lascivious around this part with this man, this janitor, sort of luring Dib into a back room and talking about a butt. But fun stuff, a butt in the face on these planets. Yeah, but anyway, back over in Korea, there's Jonan, Roman, and I. Roman had just been married. Roman, of course, the writer on our show and the creator and artist of Lenore, the comic book, which was published under the same house as Jonan's comics was. They sort of were neck and neck for sales, I think, when they would release comics. But Roman had just gotten married, and gotten married to an Asian woman. I believe she is Vietnamese American, and he really loved Asian women, and his wife knew that he loved Asian women, didn't want to lose them. They got married before he came over, and poor guy spent most of his time in a hotel room dealing with his wife, who never wanted him to leave or see any Asian women. So he always had to deal with her, starting arguments, and it was kind of funny, but pretty pathetic, actually. I didn't know what to think. I thought it was so sad. Poor Roman caught in that hotel room. Because it was nice to see a different country. I'd never been to Asia at that point. And Seoul, Korea, very nice city, very clean, at least the part that we were in where Sunwoo was. Sunwoo being the animation company that we used overseas. You can see part of that story highlighted in one of Roman's comics when we ended up in Tokyo with Jonan like a few days later around Halloween of 2000. We ended up having a hell of a drinking night with his cousin and his cousin's girlfriend. Jonan was sick. He stayed in his hotel room. Ended up dealing with a dancing urinal, taking photos of Roman's genitalia, and quite an experience. This whole sequence, I really like this cute little thing with this monkey ship from the 50s and 60s. This janitor's redone the whole thing. Some of the worst animation. Generally, these sorts of ships would be done in 3D. But again, we had a problem with 3D budget at this time, so we couldn't do these ships in 3D. They ended up looking a little bit cheesy. A little bit cheesy, very cheesy. Look at that shot. And such a complex show, we had a lot of inconsistencies going on. I think the rest of that rocket ship shows up just a few shots later. Everything that broke off ends up in a scene again. Flying past Zim here on Mars. This sequence, the whole planet sequence, was done by Kyle Menke. Again, our very ambitious board artist. He won an Emmy for his storyboarding on the first episode, a Primetime Emmy for individual achievement in animation, doing the beginning of the first episode, Nightmare Begins. And I actually won an Annie for that, for my part on that episode. But he really ambitious, really did neat stuff. I mean, a very difficult sequence here with these planets and these little face and butt and control areas on these planets, and yet between 3D and 2D, and he pulled it off. He understood the medium. He understood 2D, he understood 3D, which is great, because I could get into his mind and let him know when he might be going too far or not far enough, or where he could take liberties. This scene used to have a burning car, which was taken out for the 9/11 scare as well. Zim's eating a sandwich that always caused a lot of problems with fans. The whole Erkins and food thing. But yeah, what do you know? He has an Erkin sandwich. He can eat that. I think people took it a little bit too seriously. What Zim could and couldn't do. It was such a complex show. It was hard to avoid, contradiction within the show. Oh, we had to use a 2D Earth back there. Just horrible. I hated our 2D planets. There's a 3D planet married with a 2D background. Our 3D planets look so great. John Sword did a really wonderful job. He and Jay Bondi, the head of color, they color in the computer a flat surface, and then the 3D Jay would, and then that's Courtney Lilly, by the way. That was our writing intern. I had to insert the screaming scene. There was originally a screaming scene in here, but it was very small. It was only 2 seconds long. To expand out time for this episode, because we had lost a lot of time, I had to make this. This is my idea, just these 2 planets and a bunch of screaming. Just all this BS to just kind of fill time and sort of add a bit of drama to the sequence. Just ridiculous. Very fun, over the top, though. Got a lot of compliments for it, and it was just silly.